Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry I'm running a minute late here. Getting all my screens up. Bear with me just a minute while I get all my stuff up and share my screen. We do have a pre-submitted question today. Let me check that really quick, and then I'll get to everyone's questions here. All right, let's see. Will, you can see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, here's my pre-submitted question. I saw this somewhere. Here we go. All right, Gunnar. Is Gunnar here today? I do see Gunnar here. Gunnar, I'm going to let you talk if you want to. And here, oh, this is not an easy one. Okay. I don't know. This is the RabbitMQ question. All right, question is, I'm using the RabbitMQ module. It works fine, but when I try to connect to a queue with priority, I get an error. How can I define the priority parameter in decisions? .x max priority equals 5. Do we give you the ability to add custom configs to the RabbitMQ module today? Ooh. Let me check.
No, I think they are very limited.
Let's see. This might be something we need a code change for. And just to confirm, you're setting up like handler flows and
Yes,
a connection? Okay.
Yes, correct.
All right, so let's see here. Let's go look at what we have under our handler flows. So I have a queue here. I can add a rabbit queue. Now, I've got some queue arguments. That's not giving me the ability to specify that. Is durable auto delete over at server info, queue credentials. None of that's going to help me here. And you're trying to set the priority parameter.
Yeah, the problem is that the queue already have a priority parameter. I just want to connect to it. I can't.
All right, so do you have the error message by chance that you could paste into our chat here?
Yeah, I could. I just have to done it once again. Just a moment.
Probably I'll need support's help, Gunnar, but I'd be happy to open a support ticket up on your behalf and get them to answer that.
Okay, that's great.
It may actually require a change to allow you to specify custom arguments in the message queue object itself, which is what I'm assuming. Or it just might be that we are not handling that as we should. Either way, we can get that fixed, I'm sure.
See, I have this. How I can copy it.
And then Jace, I'll be getting you up next here with your email question.
I only pasted the start, right? Otherwise, it's a lot of things.
Okay.
I'm not so familiar with this. Can you see it?
Yeah. Text precondition failed. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Let me ask a question really quick in an internal thread and see if they can give me a quick answer. If not, we can turn this into a support ticket and ask them to help us sort out what we need to do here. Oh,
okay,
boy.
that is fine with me. It doesn't. They don't need the answer today, so.
I'm sorry?
I don't need the answer today, so that's
okay.
fine.
Great. Well, then I won't have failed you too bad.
Yeah.
But let me see. Let me just ask really quick. He might be able to tell me. He's online. So if you give me just a minute, let's see if he replies to me. Check something really quick too. I just want to see if in our flow steps we have the ability to support this. Let's see here. Integration, RabbitMQ, put string, resync test, put message. So get string. Does this queue name, message count, step information, advanced? No, it doesn't look like it. Okay, bear with me just a minute. I'll see if I can get an answer for you here. If not, we'll open a support ticket and have them follow up for you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, then we got Jace here. Jace, you got a question about sending email notifications from a flow. What you got?
Yeah. Um, so we have an approval flow that needs to go through multiple different approvers. They open up a form and just click approve, reject. And then once the last person in the approval flow
Okay.
approves it, we need to notify every single person who was an approver in the flow
Okay.
by email that like the task has been approved, and there was a
Okay.
status change. So I'm wondering what's like the best tool to like trigger that notification from a flow.
Got it. So sounds like I mean, the step is probably just a send email step. I think the question is, how do you get the completing users from the previous assignments?
Maybe so, yeah.
So I think what you're trying to do is build up a dynamic to list here from your flow.
Okay.
Likely what you could do, this might depend on the particulars, but you can fetch like assignments using a fetch entity step. And the assignment is what like our task object is. And then like, let's assume, is this a case or a process folder based process?
I don't know. I think a case.
Good. Likely then, all of the assignments are in the same folder. So if I could show you what I mean by that. If you go and look at a case that has an assignment and you look and you come to the folder view, what you should see here are like you should see assignment objects in the folder view, which means that like the idea for a case is all the assignments should be getting put in the folder. And if that's the case, pardon, that was unintended pun. Then we can use the folder ID to fetch these assignments. And if they're not, they probably should, if they're not in the folder, they should be. And we want to make a change to the design of the way those things are saved so that they do get added. In fact, I'm going to make a quick note for myself because that needs to be fixed, which is inherit the case behavior. Set. But let's assume you do have that set up, which is what I would expect the standard thing to be. What you can do is in your flow, you have like the folder ID somewhere as a property. You could create an assignment, and in the assignment fetch criteria, you could find entity folder ID, right? And then you can pass in like the folder ID of the case folder. This is going to give you all assignments in that folder. And then you might want to make sure that you only fetch the ones that are completed. So you could fetch like state, and you could make sure you find state equals completed, right? Something like this.
Okay, so the inputs needs to be the entity folder ID.
Yeah, assuming some of those constraints about where your assignments are being saved to. Ideally, if the case is properly set up, all your assignments should share the same entity folder ID.
Okay.
Because then what you could do is if you use a fetch entity step and you properly filter and you set up, if you set it to assignment and you properly filter on it, then you could fetch all of the completed assignments, and then into your send email step, what you could do is change this to select from flow, find the results from your entity assignment, and you could say all completed by, and this would be the string list of everyone who completed assignments in the current flow or the current case. And then now I can send an email to everyone who completed an assignment in that particular series of assignments.
Okay.
Of whatever I want. So something like this is probably the logic that you're after.
Okay, so it's just a fetch entity to fetch all the approvers from that flow, and then feeding that into the send email step, and there I can dynamically adjust who it's being sent to.
Yeah, it's just, I would say that slightly differently. It's fetching all assignments using the completed by value of those assignments as the because whenever you like complete an assignment, right, you click approve or reject, and an outcome path of that assignment is acted on. The back end says, hey, Will completed that or Jace completed that. And so now in the completed by value of every assignment, I have the email address of that user. And so I can fetch those, or I could fetch all the assignments. I can steal the completed by value and then pass that into the send email step. And if you need something, if you always want like other people too, like say there's like a list and there's like a constant list plus dynamic, you could do something like join arrays, and you could pass in all the people that actually completed like we just did, like all completed by, and then have like additional sort of groups of users that you always want. Maybe this is like build array, right? And here you're gonna do you know, bob@decisions.com or something like that. You can combine dynamic and static recipients of this email as you need to.
Okay, I see. And can I look at the fetch entities tool, how that's configured one more time?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. So if, okay. Okay, cool.
All right. All right, I did get an answer. Oh, you're very welcome. All right, Gunnar, I got an answer here. Just a quick second. Can we supply custom arguments? No, X max priority seems like something no one's asked for. So that's going to require us to get a code change in for you. So I will get that to the dev team. Will, would you mind submitting a support ticket on Gunnar's behalf, please? Into support with that error message and some of the context of what we're talking about here today.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Okay, great. All right, Chris is up next. Let me answer live, done. So Chris's question here, let me put this in the chat for everyone. If we use an active form flow inside of a data repeater control to enable or disable fields or buttons, is there a way for said flow to receive another input from the parent form, such as whether the form is in the entry or reviewer forms? So you have an active form flow running at the repeater item level, like on each repeater.
Right.
I think you have to do like, I think you have to set the property ahead of time. Like, I think it needs to be like a hidden thing, like on the repeater object itself. I don't know that you can pass anything, but let me see really quick. Repeater input question. It's a good question. All right, so let me just get my stuff set up here.
I guess one of the things that occurred to me is could you, or does it make more sense to go the other way around, where the parent form would iterate through the repeater items and fiddle with controls there? But I don't know I don't know if that's tenable either.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm not sure you can do that either. I think you're right. So here's a data repeater. Here's a button. Okay. And the question is, if I go create a data repeater, right, and then here, and I need to get data into this thing. I swear I've seen someone do this before. Input type. So we're gonna pick a type. I'll just use a count. And here's a label. And then we'll text from data name and we'll use the email address. Okay. And then we'll name this thing garbage text. I think so you can definitely do this if your object has like a property that you set, but you make hidden, right? So like if you have like a dynamic label and then you get the text from data name and you create a property on the repeater object called current form type or something, and yes, you would set it to the same value for every repeater item, right? But then you would like hide it, so you would never show this to anyone. That would allow you to have it available. It's not elegant, but that will work. I don't think you can get data into the repeater directly, like from the parent flow, which is, I think, the real question here. Like, can I create an input here that shows on the form that I can pass values into? I don't think you can pass an input from the form's parent flow all the way down into an active form flow on a repeater. But you can definitely do it with a hidden property on your type. And then just right before the form renders, like set the value on those things.
When you say the hidden property on the type, does that mean, for example, in this case, we would need a property on the account record to carry the, shall I say, instructions?
Right. Yeah. So accounts are probably a problematic idea here, but like if this is your custom data type, then you would add a new property whose only function would be to be used in this repeater control.
Which would then likely require what I'll call a list map step ahead of the form to set accordingly.
Yes, correct. So active form flow data, show editor. Let's see, this is input. I don't remember what this stuff does. Test one.
That all that does is it blocks that input on the main flow. Like if you call the form that has this data repeater in a main flow, then the inputs to that form won't show. It does not pass inputs to the active form flow.
Can we do what Chris is asking here, Jared? Do you know?
Is the request that you have a parent form, and then you type in values, and you want to put that in the data repeater?
No, there's an active form flow running on the data repeater.
Okay. Gotcha.
And Chris wants it to behave like the active form flow behavior to change differently because you have the same repeater on two different forms, and he wants the behavior to be different on one parent form versus the other. So he needs to like feed in like an instruction to the data repeater from the parent form.
Gotcha.
What I was saying is you can definitely do it if you just sort of create like a quote unquote virtual property, right? And then hide it. And then now the active form flow has it, but that's because you're setting this kind of temporary or fake property before you render, before you load the form. That'll work. I mean, it kind of sucks, but it will work.
Exactly. Yeah. I can't think of another way besides that.
Okay. What are label attributes? Will, can you figure out what label attributes are for me, please? I have no clue what these are. I wonder if this is some accessibility thing that I'm not familiar with. Yeah, Chris, I think that's your best bet right now, even if it's not ideal.
All right. I mean, I had thought of that kind of a thing. It felt kind of klutzy, but
it is, admittedly, right?
Hence
but
the question: is there a more elegant option that I'm missing?
I don't think there is. I think your kludgy, whatever approach is the best bet you have right now to make a data repeater behave uniquely based on the parent form that it's being rendered by.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. What other questions do we have today? Give everyone a second here. I'm gonna grab a water, be back in 2 seconds. All right. Just let me know if you have anything else. Oh, Jared, twice this week. Fancy.
We got some new questions.
Oh, here we go. All right, Gunnar, how can I customize a folder activity panel for case entities? First thing is the whole page itself is configurable. So you want to make you want to think kind of outside the box of just the activity panel. So if you search for case default, you find default case page. This is just a page in decisions, and in the folder activity panel is a component. Yeah. So right now, you get the folder activity panel is just a page component, and it gives you these options right now to control how it is rendered today. You can, I mean, these are the current options that you have available for configuring the activity panel. Is there a specific type of we are working to make it better. In fact, let me see if I could pull up a Figma design for it so I could show you, as you are clearly not happy with it. You can come off mute, man, and just talk if you want. All good. Let me see if I can find this thing. I'll show you what our updated designs are going to look like.
Yeah, that's a pain because I've customized the hood page, but this panel, it's difficult to. I would like to show another layout to my customer or the caseworker, and this is a little bit terrible. I would like to use the standard panel, but otherwise I have to do it myself.
Yeah, let me see here. Process view. Nope. Let me see if I can find what the new design is going to look like. There we go. I'm not sure it has a ton of functionality changes. Is it just looks nicer? Like, what is it? What are you trying to what is it something is it just that you just think it's outdated, or it has a functionality gap that you'd like to be able to control?
Yeah, I would like to change the color and maybe a little bit the presentation of the text. And then it's also in English, and I'm in the Danish public minister here, so it would be nice to change the language and show, change the layout so it's more, readable.
Show you what our new designs are going to look like. I'm not sure which of these ones is the final. Now, there's a couple points there. Some of it is actually translation. So this is
Yeah, it doesn't seem to that all get translated, but this is the other case. Maybe I can make it.
Now we don't translate. Are you asking about the content of like a comment?
Yeah,
Or just the
sometimes I
header
try to
information?
translate it, but I would like just to change the layout completely from this folder at case activity.
Mhm. So what some options you might look at, of course, right now, this is kind of what one of our new designs is going to look like, but the functionality is effectively the same. Now, if you're missing, if you are if you're missing functionality, or excuse me, translation, then we need to look at that. We've
Yeah,
made a
but
lot of changes here in very recent versions of 8 to make sure that, like for example, like current label, like this translates, or other sort of like the text in the completed assignment view, name and assignment, that these things are translatable. We can't translate the content of a comment in any way. Whatever text is entered by a user is what we'll present here.
We're only seeing the default case page if you're showing off something else.
Oh, well, I see now that it didn't. There it is. Can you see that now?
oh,
Yes.
Sorry. Sorry. Thank you for that, Will. This is where we're headed with the new designs for this.
Okay, this looks much better.
But it's functionally the same. It's not different from a functionality standpoint. It just looks more newer, quote unquote.
Yes, looks no, yes. So I don't that is funny colors so at least the panel looks much better.
You might also look at like a text view of a report if you want more control. If on a report there is a view option here called, oh, I have to create a report here, don't I? There's a view option here called rich text or text list. I think is it text list or rich text? One or the other. These give you some more control over how the report renders. And you can do more customizable views. If you really want like a lot more control, you could also look at using something like a data repeater to really custom craft a view of the contents of your folder. But new designs coming. Functionality is going to be roughly the same, just with a refreshed sort of style. But what version are you currently running today?
I just updated to 8 something.
You can check in the top right-hand corner here with your person icon and click About.
Yep. It's 8.17.
Okay, so if we're still there's some new sort of translation things we've hidden behind some feature flags. So Gunnar, what I'd like to do is I'm gonna have your customer success manager reach out so we can talk about what you might be missing from translation, because the translation and the activity panel view are going to be separate for us. So I'd like to make sure that we know what you need from translation, and we can handle that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And some of that
Yeah.
could be,
yeah. Correctly. I went through some of them and I said, okay, something was missing there, but it's also 3 months since I looked into and there was other version, so I didn't review it after I've updated.
Okay, great. Been a lot of changes recently, and there's also like a feature flag here about translation that you can enable or disable here called allow translation for data elements. This might we might need to look at unlocking this feature flag for you to get access to some additional translation bits that you're after. But it could be that it's just fixed in a newer version. We've been doing a lot of work on making some misses in the portal for translation very recently.
Okay.
Okay, great. And Will, if you could help me with that CS reach out as well, I would greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I can help you understand what that means after the fact if we need to. All right, and then Makam has got a question. What do you have, Makam? What can I help you with?
Hey, sorry. My name is Shabrish. Okay. I'm just
I'm sorry, I think your audio just might have cut out. Will, can you hear me okay?
yeah, I just
Oh, here
pinged
we
you.
go. I see. We have different
So
projects in our decisions. When we move one object from one project to another, it will still show as part of the other project, and this causes us problems when checking into repo. Yeah.
So is there a
Yeah.
solution like how we can move objects from one project to other?
This is not anything you can really fix until you upgrade to our version 9 when we release it in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
Once we've rethought how projects are being managed in version 9 to prevent this from being an issue. Now there's actually going to be an action. So if I come to like say form 2, there is an action to somewhere. I don't know where it's at. Maybe it's a flow action. There's a move to project action, which is not showing up for some reason. Yeah, I don't know where it's going to be exactly, but there's a new action to move things between projects, which will handle that complaint of yours. Right now, if you move things in version 8 and below, there's no way to not have the project name change automatically, unfortunately. With version 9, this will be much different and won't be an issue anymore. Because right now, decisions version 8, there's not really a concept there's not really a project isn't really a thing as much as it is like a relationship between things. And so with version 9, we've rethought how projects work, and then it'll be much more difficult for you to get into these states or need to or remember to change a project name or association after you move something around. There it is, move to different project. Yeah. I click on an item and I move it. I click a project that I want to move it to. And then once it does that, it'll actually do the project name reassociation automatically for me.
Okay, great. Waiting for this then.
Yep. And that's coming out next month. So it's due very soon.
Sure. And Peterson, there's one more question. So let's think you have two reports which are parent-child, okay, in a view, in a page, okay. So on
Okay.
selection of one report, it's being sent as a filter for the other one.
Yeah.
So, but for that filter, how many records are fetched? Can we put that value back into this? We want to show it in one particular column on that row. How many records exist for that one? So is that possible?
Can you say that for me
Is
one
the
more time?
reverse communication possible? I'm asking.
Say that one more time for me.
I have two reports on left and right on a page. Okay. So on click of one thing, on click of any row in the left one, it passes as a filter to the right report.
Right.
And
Exactly.
something is being there, and I want to get the count from the right report again back to the left one. So is that possible?
I don't think you can't. So on the left report, like you're going to click a row and that filters the right hand report down to 5 entities, right? And you want to show how many items are on, like how many items would be in that report. Ugh. But it's not really, it's more about just showing that in general, not necessarily on click, right?
Yeah, correct. Not on click, because there might be many items on the left, and we are using some rule filters on the right report. So the values get dynamically changed, and so is there a way? That was one question I had, but that's not a major issue. If it is not possible, then we have to think of some alternate.
You could ideally you could look at using something like a flow inline field, like a calculated column, to do that count for you, like on a report. Yeah, on it. But there are this can this can be tough. Like performance wise, there can be problems here, right?
Okay.
But like there's an option here under data fields. If you look at calculated columns, if you expand calculating, there's an option here called flow inline field, and this thing lets you create a flow, and this flow sets the value of a cell. So you could run this flow to get the count of items that match, and then output that count in a calculated cell here. Now,
Okay.
this flow runs for every report row, so it can be very slow, and it can have it can have significant performance implications. So its use here is cautioned against, but like you could probably do this at the flow inline field, or write a custom query that could give you those counts as a property and use that query as the data source for your left-hand report. Something like that query-based idea is probably a bit better.
Okay. And the next question was, when a report value changes, is there a way to automatically refresh the report? Is there a
Yes.
way?
Yeah, you need to make sure your report is set up to refresh on like folder change. And then there's send report refresh steps. We should,
Okay.
I believe, I hope. So let me search refresh report data using a flow. Yeah, look at this document right here. I'll put this in the chat. This document shows you how to configure a report to accept like a send refresh event, or like a folder change event, and then refresh its content automatically.
Okay, cool. And next thing is, we're using some subtotals in the report.
Okay.
So, but it's looking very small. So the client was asking us, can you bold it? Is there a way option to change the fonts or formats on that?
You're
If you go to
probably
the
talking
result,
about CSS at that point.
no. If you can open any of the existing reports, yeah. And if you go to the results on the left,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Right.
we have added some subtotals.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. But it looks
You want,
very small report. Yeah. Any counts or any of the field, it looks
yeah.
very small towards the right. So they were asking, can we bold this or something?
If we can, we can probably write CSS for this. Let's see. Let's find our theme editor here. Let's see. Dashboard, report, expanded grid cell. There might, I'm not sure. It might be one of these, but this is not, we can't actually set the border color. Can we set? I don't know which one of these it might be. It might be in the theme editor. I'm not entirely certain here. If not, you can write custom CSS for sure. So if we were to look at like a report,
Yes,
you can apply custom. I'm sorry?
We have a custom CSS. So in that, is this configurable?
Yes. So if you look at it, like, let me create this really quick. So,
okay.
And then I'll put, I'll group on entity folder ID, right? I'll come here and I'll do count. I'll add a subtotal for the count on entity folder ID, right? Blah, 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 blah. And then right now it's gonna, so it shows here, right? And so if we run this, and then if we look at Chrome developer tools, let's find this thing. So report grid viewer, group header, aggregate data. So you can write like you can write custom CSS to apply to this report. To override or set this class if you want to change the way it renders. This is probably what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then I believe it's in the reports under settings. It's definitely on the report viewer if it's not in the report itself. Yeah, it's going to be on the report viewer. If you look at a report viewer, let me create a page. Oops. Create page. And then here, if I put a report viewer, you'll see here under view, I have control CSS, or where's my CSS at? Is it just control CSS? It's one of these CSS classes. It's not help. Yeah, I guess you specify it here under this control CSS. Sounds confusing, but I guess it's here. Maybe I have to specify it at the page first. View, there you go, CSS class. I definitely can set it on the page itself here. And so those, if you look at that back on our doc site here, like just searching for CSS, we should be able to say using CSS on a page. And this should show you how you can write the CSS and then apply it to page controls, like a report viewer.
Okay. Great.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
You bet,
Really.
yeah. All right, and Chris, you got a follow-up question. Is the project association limited to objects that are not yet sent to the repo? If not limited, will deployment change the project association in other environments? Right now, you can't check something it will throw a pretty nasty error if you try to check something into the repo that's already part of a different project. So you have to actually remove it from the project that it's a part of on the repo before you can even check it in.
All right. And if I could go back to data repeater for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Is a parent form able to maybe set enabled and disabled on data repeater rows?
Say that one more time.
So we had talked about having an active form flow inside the data repeater that would try to get input to understand, okay, what's my format, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible for the parent form to fiddle with a data repeater individual controls?
I don't think so. No, I don't. I do not think so. Mm-mm.
All right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it doesn't have control. It doesn't really know what data repeater it's showing. It just knows it's data. There's data coming in and data coming out, but it doesn't actually know anything about the data itself. In the same way, like the flow doesn't really know about the specific form. It just knows about the interface on either end, the inputs and outputs. It's very similar for the form to data repeater relationship.
All right. And if I go back to the changing project problem, that would recommend to me that if I actually wanted to move a project that was already move an item, an object that's already in the repository to a different project. Currently, you can go into the repository and basically remove an object in the repository. And I think if you do it the right way, it does not actually, for example, promote a delete on the next deployment. So what you could then potentially do is after you've taken out of one, you could then locally move it, right, in your development environment, check it in, so then it would become part of another project. And I think what is that piece of is that little repository level action still available to us to be able to kind of manually say, hey, forget you ever knew about this one. All right. I've heard it's changing a lot in none. I just am not sure what I've been sort of wondering to myself what those ramifications are going to look like.
It's more about like making a project more of a real thing and less of a value in a table. And so like you can't move like in V8, there wasn't really a strong concept of a project. It was really, folders aren't projects. Folders are folders, but projects are groups of things. Folders can be in that group or not. And so like when you move something between project folders, people think they move projects, but really all they do is just move the pointer location of a specific object. And with projects, we've rethought that whole thing. And now like as soon as something is added, and now like when you're in a project, you're in a project. It's different. Like on my screen, you'll notice, because I'm on V9, there's this new view on the kind of folder tree here. Like there's a context of being inside of a project now, and that's what this horizontal, that's what this rectangle looks like. I'm in the test1 project. Everything that's added here is in the test1 project. And to move things, I actually have to go and use the move to different project action, which will show me other projects that I can move to, and then manage all that project association stuff. Where before, because folders were just folders and things were things, you could quickly get yourself in some cross dependency or project missing dependency nonsense really quickly. And
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, suppose I wanted to put a designer object in another project's folder. Is that still available to us?
Yeah, but now you have to declare dependencies between projects. So what you'd do is you'd come and say, project 1 is now a dependency of project 2. So I can use the project 1 contents in project 2.
Oh.
So you have to declare these project relationships explicitly. And then now the component pieces of like a shared project will become available for use. So yes, you can. It's just a bit more explicit today, or than it is today.
We have a shared project, as it were, that has some top level folders that all the other projects stick their dashboards in.
Yeah, so you need this dependencies would be something you'd have to, as you with version 9, you're going to upgrade and then migrate your projects to the new structure. And there's a migrate, legacy project action. And so you'll need to migrate and then kind of set up some of these dependencies as part of that V9 migration.
So the migration is going to potentially offer us the option to say, oh, by the way, while you're doing this, you depend on this other project.
Right.
Or does that happen afterwards?
Say that one more time.
So I can imagine the shared project is our first thing to migrate, right? I mean, do you kind of migrate the projects one at a time, or is it kind of go big bang with deployment of release 9?
No, you do them one by one. And the order shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter, but like what you'll get is a bunch of validation issues. Like, and we've made it easier to see, like, if you look at this main dashboard, you'll see, like, you can quickly see the issues and things that are broken. And there's also this new health view. So you can more quickly see the status of all of the issues with your particular project. But yeah, you do the migration after the upgrade using like an action to migrate a project to project view or project hub is what we're calling it. And so you need to plan, and we have training and content and stuff coming, but you need to have a plan when you upgrade to 9 to go through and do the migration of all of the projects over to the new structure. So we can definitely get you some more information about that.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. All right. Anything else?
That's all for me.
All righty. All right. Okay. I think that's everything. We're about at time here, and the audience is kind of filtering out. So if no one has anything else, we'll kind of do last call, so to speak.
Thank you, Ben. Bye.
All right. You're very welcome. Great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. You got Jared the next 2 days. So talk to you soon.